Hello there.
Hello there, my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So, this is very unexpected. Do you remember Star Wars Detours? It's the animated Star Wars comedy series that never was. First announced at Star Wars Celebration back in 2012, it was by the guys who made Robot Chicken. George Lucas loved it, the comedy is pretty solid, pretty hilarious, and the point of it is that it's a complete piss take. It's not serious.
You want to give me that sandwich?
I'm actually gonna take this home to my dog.
I am your dog.
The characters are a caricature version of themselves, and it's just supposed to make you laugh. And honestly, considering it's been 14 years, it does. And many fans, myself included, think that Disney should just release it, because it's still never aired. You can find a few clips, you can find a few trailers, you can find interviews of Seth Green talking about it and some behind the scenes stuff, but if you're looking for full episodes, they don't exist.
Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
And while this show was never meant to be a serious addition to Star Wars canon, a lot of work went into it. 39 full episodes were produced, with 62 additional scripts, and some insane names worked on it. Seth MacFarlane, Zachary Levi, D. Bradley Baker, Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, and even Ahmed Best. There was a lot that went into this. But Disney didn't seem to like it, and in 2013, it was indefinitely delayed. And ever since, every once in a blue moon, Star Wars fans demand its return. Even Seth Green himself has said he would be a fan of that. He would love for fans to see it. But a few months ago, he admitted he's not too optimistic. He doesn't think Disney is ever going to do anything with it. And so, it sounded like it was completely dead. Well, not so fast. A few keen-eyed Star Wars fans noticed something very interesting in the poster for Lucasfilm Animation's 20th anniversary, shown at Star Wars Celebration. This really went under the radar, and at first glance, it just looks like a greatest hits of some of their most iconic characters, from the Clone Wars, both the movie and the show, Star Wars Rebels, Resistance, The Bad Batch. You have Yaddle, one of my favourite characters in all of Star Wars. But did you notice the hidden but deliberate reference to Star Wars Detours? And it's found right next to Jedi Master Evan Peel. Did you spot it? Right here. A stormtrooper with a giant head and comical goggles, taken right out of the cancelled show. But the question is, if Disney is so ashamed of it, and they're leaving it to rot and be forgotten, then why in the world would Lucasfilm include it? Because you have to bear in mind, the poster is not random, it's not generic. It's hand-chosen characters in a specific configuration, each one of them chosen to be in it. And in all fairness, Lucasfilm could have omitted Detours, and no one would have batted an eye. No one would have said, okay great, we've got the Clone Wars and Rebels and Resistance, but what about the obscure comedy show from 14 years ago? No one would have said anything, but instead, they decided to give a nod to it. That's pretty big. So what's going on? Does this mean anything? Well, honestly guys, my take is simple. Regardless of it never having aired, it's still a real solid, tangible project thousands of people worked on. It's still part of Lucasfilm Animation's history. Whether Disney does anything with it is a different matter. It's besides the point. It still happened, because the poster is meant to showcase the best of their work over the last 20 years, and it took a lot to bring Detours to life. With the animation, 3D modeling and synchronization and all of that, the scripts, the voice work, the editing, and I wonder if behind the scenes, Lucasfilm has been pushing Disney to release it. And I say this because the inclusion of the Stormtrooper in the poster is a pretty powerful statement. It's Lucasfilm saying, look, Disney might not want to acknowledge this, but this is something we're proud of, it's something that was real, and it's a story and a blending of genres that we brought to life. It's part of our history and it's something that George worked on. And I'd love to know what Dave Filoni thinks of this. Does he like Detours? Is it like The Hunt for Ben Solo where fans are looking to him for hope of bringing this back? And to be honest, I think back to comments made by Seth Green, both in 2012 when it was first announced, but also as recently as 2025. He spoke about the differences between Lucasfilm under George and Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy, and while he likes both of those people, while he thanked Kathy for the experience, Lucasfilm was in a very different place before production and afterwards when Disney bought it. Seth alludes to the fact that George was kind of done with Star Wars by then. He'd been talking with Bob Iger, and he knew his contributions to the galaxy far, far away were close to an end, and so Seth says, George just wanted to have fun. He wanted to create something that was jovial and a very different type of Star Wars. This was supposed to introduce people to Star Wars in a way they hadn't been before. In addition, it was intended for those who weren't interested in conventional Star Wars. Now, in the past when suggestions have been made about mixing the two genres, I've not been the biggest fan, especially when it comes to something like Taika Waititi's movie. But the reason I'm okay with Detours is because I separate serious Star Wars movies that are telling canonical stories that count from parodies and jokes. I'm actually quite a big fan of Family Guy's Star Wars trilogy. So, what about the future? Is Detours ever gonna make, well, I guess, a detour? Is it ever gonna come back? And what would it take? Well, my friends, Seth Green recently answered this, and he says, quote, Detours itself would have to be edited and upgraded. They'd have to do new work on it to make it possible to put on streaming. I just don't think that they're willing to commit the spend to update and release this when they can't see a clear benefit. And then he goes on to say, it's so complicated, because where that fit into Star Wars history was a very specific moment. George Lucas was about to, but hadn't sold Lucasfilm yet, so there weren't any concrete plans to make any new Star Wars movies, and Lucasfilm was primarily like a licensing company. But George wanted to make something that was like The Simpsons in the Star Wars universe. That's what we set out to do. I think he just wanted to have fun. That's why he hired us. It was close to the end. This was before the Disney acquisition. Then he says, they were writing the last couple of seasons of the Clone Wars and were planning what would become Star Wars Rebels. And then when he put Kathleen Kennedy in charge, her task was not to make Star Wars for the next 2 or 3 years. Her task was to embed Star Wars in the populace for the next 30 years. And he says, the biggest thing Kathy said was, look, we're gonna make these new movies, and kids have not seen any new Star Wars, so we're gonna focus on Rebels. So Seth Green is basically saying that Detours didn't really have a place, and with the way things are going, with Lucasfilm focusing on the more serious side of things, both on the big screen and the small screen, both in live action and animation, it's unlikely Disney would spend the money to restore, and as Seth says, to update Star Wars Detours. And he finishes with this, I'm just consoled by the insane and unlikely experience that I got to work with George, one of my greatest influences. There's so many things you can create that never get made, but there's also so many things you make that never get seen. It's a painful reality of this business. I look at all the people that I know, I look at all the people I worked with, this incredible experience, and I have to say I've learnt so much, just from getting to do it. So to be honest, for now, it seems pretty conclusive, unless Dave Filoni decides to resurrect it. They don't have to put it with the Skywalker saga or the serious TV shows, they can put it with the additional stuff. The Droid Tales, the LEGO holiday specials, I don't see any reason why not. But share your thoughts in the comments down below. But until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you, always.